So in this video we talk about how are we keeping. David O'Connor here from Doc Fitness, and in this video I'm going to talk about the stuff where you've heard it before. Look, you eat more fat to burn more fat, and people put out these fitness programs with lots of high fatty foods in the belief that if you eat more you're going to lose more fat long term. I'm going to show you with this video that it's not the case. All right, so when you eat a meal, right, for example, three different things may happen. You could use it for immediate energy demands. It can go towards metabolic processes like muscle growth, or else it can go for storage for later use. And this is what I'm going to delve into here, because the reality is when you eat a meal, you store body fat, right? But the thing is, when we're not eating in between meals, that is actually when we release it for energy. And that is going to be the main takeaway from this. And I'm going to show you what's the deal with if you eat higher carbs throughout the day or if you eat higher fats throughout the day and what that means overall. So let's have a look at this little graph I have over here. So a big shout out to Danny Lennon from Sigma Nutrition, because I got this graph from him. I understood this fat cell stuff a lot more detailed. So if you want to check it out in more sciencey terms, check out his blog below, which is going to link up. But basically, as I said before, when we take in a meal, for example, we're going to be storing body fat. Now, it's in between those meals where we're also going to lose that body fat. So in the grand scheme of things, we're not actually getting fat per se. Again, everything at the end of the day, and don't forget this, is dictated by energy in versus energy out. We have to be in a calorie deficit to lose body fat, and this is what this is going to show you here. So this is the fat coming out of a cell, right, which then goes into another process called beta oxidation, which is fat burning. And this is where people kind of miss the picture of things. So here we have a process called reesterification. Well, you don't need to know that, but again, high fat, let's say, for example, which if you have a high amount of fat going into a fat cell, you're also going to have a high amount of fat leaving that cell, which in turn will produce more beta oxidation, what people refer to fat burning, but that doesn't necessarily mean you're losing body fat. Similarly, this process up here, which is called de novo lipogenesis, you don't need to know those terms again, but it's basically the conversion of glucose into fat. So in easy sense here, watch, I've done the diagram up, conversion of carbohydrates into fat, which goes into a fat cell. Now, the thing is, because this accounts for a very relatively small part of the equation, if you have less fat going into the cell, you're also going to have less fat, we'll say, leaving the cell, which in turn technically means there'll be less fat burning because there's less amount of fat to burn, which just basically means you're just going to be burning a higher amount of carbohydrates for energy. So hopefully you see that picture. If you have a high amount of fat going in, you have a high amount of fat leaving, your body's going to be burning predominantly fats for energy. If you have a high amount of carbs, your body's going to be burning carbs for energy. And that's the big disconnect. People believe that because this fancy term here, beta oxidation, that you're burning more body fat. It doesn't go like that. The same net balance is going to be inside that cell. So for example, if you have a high amount of fat coming in, you also have a high amount of fat coming out. Less amount of fat going in, less amount of fat going out, but you also always have the same flux inside that cell. Unless you're in a calorie deficit, you will not burn body fat. So higher carb diet means you burn more carbs for energy, higher fat diet means you burn more fats for energy, and that is the big disconnect. I've done another video on this before showing you the graph when you eat a meal and in between the meals you burn body fat. But again, unless that over the course of a day, over the course of 7 days a week, is not in a calorie deficit. If you're not in a calorie deficit, you will not burn body fat. And again, don't get confused with the terms I'm using. High fat, burning amount of fat for energy, not body fat. Just because you're burning more fat for fuel does not mean you're burning body fat and losing body fat. That's what I mean by the disconnect, okay? Higher carbohydrates, you're going to burn carbs for fuel. Higher fat, it's fat for fuel, not body fat. So be careful with those terms I'm using, because that is what I mean by the end of the day. People, when they say eat more fat to burn more fat, they're right. They're technically true, because you will be burning more fat for fuel. You will not be just magically burning body fat and getting smaller, getting leaner, getting more toned, whatever it is. That's what I mean by the disconnect route. Hopefully this diagram gives you an inclination. But again, as I said, if you want to get it a bit more sciencey and in detail, Danny's a brilliant blog on it below and I'll link that up. But again, if you find this information useful, if you can take away stuff from it every time, subscribe to the YouTube channel for more because I'm always putting them out there. And as well, if you have any friends that might benefit from this, tag them below, share it with them. And thanks for following me, guys. Chat to you soon.